Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've made it. It's Friday morning or Friday evening, depending on when you're listening to our show, and the weekend is here. And we've got a lot to celebrate. We've got a lot of good news to share with you both at the beginning and the end of the show. We're going to start out with a story about President Trump, man. He is winning. He wins again. He does something epic. He increases the chances of Mideast peace. He got an Arab country to sign a peace agreement recognizing the state of Israel and joint actions between them. And we'll give you the details. President Trump, promises made, promises kept. And then we're going to do a story about Kamala. She is the flavor of the day, Kamala. She favors cash over sex abuse victims. And we're going to explain that in just a moment. But believe me, you're going to be shocked if you haven't heard this story. And you definitely need to hear this story. And then more good news. Unemployment claims actually dropped for the below 1 million for the first time in 5 months, baby. President Trump is turning the corner. He's winning, and it's making people nervous. But before we get into the meat of our show, I want to start by showing you our prize pack. Many of you have tuned in already, understand this. Those of you who are new to the show, howdy, how are you? Good morning. Welcome. We're glad to have you. Where you been? But you're in the right place now, and you're just in time to be a winner, because one lucky listener is going to win this prize pack at the end of the month. All you have to do to enter the contest is go to the description of our show. Doesn't matter where you're watching it. You'll see a description above the video that will tell you what we're doing today. And there's going to be a link on there that says John Martin Giveaway. Click on that link and you're going to get all of these prizes, which I'll describe in just a moment. They are donated to our show by one of our sponsors, our main sponsor, because we're live in Big Daddy Unlimited Studio, BDU. If you want to help the show, you can also click on our sponsorship link in that same area of description I was saying above our show. Click on that for 99 cents for a 1 month virtually free trial. You can be connected to Big Daddy Unlimited. It's $10 a month after that, but the savings you get if you purchase one Second Amendment item like a gun, yes, you can get guns through Big Daddy Unlimited, ammunition delivered right to your door. You can also get items, tactical items like this prize pack, which once again, we're giving away. Go to the link up there, John Martin Giveaway, no obligation, register, it's free. What we have here is what we call an everyday carry pack. It's specially designed for concealed weaponry, taking it with you on the road, that kind of thing. So, and you can use the pack really for anything. It's high quality. It has, among other things, this little ditty you see out in front, which is a flashlight. Do not let the size fool you. This flashlight is it's huge, really, as Donald Trump would say. It does more things than you can possibly imagine and lasts longer than any flashlight you've probably ever had. And then, of course, we got some other things in here. We got this little ditty pouch here that you can put anything related, especially designed for concealed carry. You can put cleaning supplies in here for your gun. You could put ammunition if you wanted to. You could put lipstick if that's your choice, whatever you want. And then, of course, no concealed carry pack would be worth its salt if it didn't have a holster for your concealed carry. You got a holster and a magazine clip here to hold your magazine clips. Check it out. All of this can be yours and will be one lucky listener's free at the end of this month. Once again, John Martin Giveaway link, sponsored by Big Daddy Unlimited, in the description of our show. Check it out. We'll remind you later on in the show about it as well. All right, we're going to start with Trump winning, baby. This is an AP story. Now, it should have been the headline everywhere because this is huge, big news. Trump says UAE, United Arab Emirates, UAE, to open diplomatic ties with Israel. Now, this is something that is unprecedented. It's only been done, Arab state, it's the first of the Gulf states to do this. I think it's Egypt and Jordan are the only two states that have a peace agreement with Israel. And now you can put, thanks to Donald Trump's efforts, United Arab Emirates, one of the richest countries in the world. Dubai, United Arab Emirates, AP story. The United Arab Emirates and Israel have agreed to establish full diplomatic ties as part of a deal to halt the annexation of occupied land sought by the Palestinians for their future state, President Donald Trump said Thursday. Now, this is epic, ladies and gentlemen. It is, especially under the current circumstances. When you think about what is happening in the world right now, what is happening in our country, the pandemic, like some of my listeners say, I think you're on to something there. Israel is suffering under this very similar situation in the United States, shut down economy, high unemployment, that type of thing. And this will help, and we'll get to that in just a moment. When you consider the chaos in the world right now, the chaos in the Middle East ongoing, and for Donald Trump to virtually, and I don't mean to kind of downgrade, but pull a rabbit out of the hat here, man, is a big, big deal under the current circumstances. And think about this. While he's doing this, what's happening in the Middle East? You don't hear a whole lot from Syria. That was supposed to be the end of the world when Donald Trump moved 50 troops in Syria, when he cut a deal with Erdogan of Turkey. It was supposed to be the end of the world as we know it. Crickets, really. I'm not saying there's not death and destruction there, but not like the scale it was. How about Iran? They were going to destroy us, going to obliterate us after we killed that general, that terrorist leader. Crickets. I mean, yeah, they boarded a boat or something like that, and I'm not saying all is well there, but basically crickets. What about Afghanistan? Now, we continue, unfortunately, to lose lives over there, but basically it seems to be somewhat under control. So the Middle East is, not in too bad a shape, all factors considered. It's better than it was a year ago, and now it's unprecedented, and Donald Trump is the leader of that movement. The announcement makes the UAE the first Gulf state to do so and only the third Arab nation to have active diplomatic ties to Israel. Think about that. The third in the world to have diplomatic ties with Israel, and Donald Trump is at the center of this. And Benjamin Netanyahu and the representatives of the UAE said the same thing, that without Donald Trump there would be no agreement. Oh, on a side note, President Trump did give a lot of credit to Jared Kushner. I know a lot of people that are Trump supporters are pretty skeptical of Kushner, but I think if you judge him based on what has been happening in the Middle East, and he seems to have some kind of knack over there, he's done some pretty good work. I'm not necessarily a big fan of his either, but you need to give credit where, if you're going to give criticism, you got to give credit where credit would due. But this story should have been the headline, man. You literally almost have to search for it. It's like the third story down. If this had happened under any other president, it would be banner headlines. It's how big this thing is. It really is. Now, what ultimately will come from that, I don't know. But the fact that in basically decades, this is the third time any Arab and the first Gulf state to basically recognize Israel and open up ties with them is a huge deal. But it should have been the headline. Think about this. Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize for basically waking up and having a cup of coffee. I mean, think about that. He got a Nobel Peace Prize. Donald Trump did more to get a Nobel Peace Prize in this one act than the entire 8 years that Obama was president. But Obama got the Peace Prize. I mean, it just shows you how nutty a world we're living in, man. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a nationally televised statement, that's the Prime Minister of Israel, by the way, "Today we usher in a new era of peace between Israel and the Arab world." That's a big deal. "There is a good chance we will soon see more Arab countries joining this expanding circle of peace." Think about that. Mideast peace, the thing that has escaped presidents since Israel was basically founded, certainly since the 67 war, is on the verge of happening under Donald Trump in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, wow, Donald Trump can walk and chew gum at the same time. But it always, every time I talk about the state of Israel, I always come back to this fundamental question, and I got to put it out there. Somebody help me, please. Chime in on Facebook, chime in on YouTube. By the way, we need more subscribers on YouTube. Check us out. You're qualified for the prize pack too right here. Go to John Martin giveaway. but spell it all the way out. John Martin Talks. It'll pop up on YouTube. We need more and more views there. I'd really appreciate it. But I got to ask this question. Why would any Jewish American or anybody who cares about Israel at all, why would they ever vote for a Democrat for president? I don't get it. And this is not just about Joe Biden. This goes way back, man. You know, Obama, for instance, the last Democratic president, he was no friend of Israel at all. And neither is Joe Biden, by the way, or Kamala Harris, none of them. But why would any Jewish American or anyone who cares about the state of Israel, I raise my hand for that, why would you ever vote for a Democrat for president? It just doesn't make sense. Please help me out. Chime in. I'll respond to you as quickly as I possibly can. The Palestinians expressed initial anger over the announcement, and the official Palestinian broadcaster, Palestinian TV, reported that Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas called an urgent meeting of his top leadership to discuss the agreement and determine a position on it. So the Palestinian Authority was a little bit questioning of this, but of course they are, because their very reason for being could go away if there's Mideast peace. And we'll get into the idea of what a peace might actually look like in just a moment. But the Democrats are upset as well. Biden had to make some kind of statement. Of course, he didn't say anything at that mind. He made a statement. That's one thing about the Biden campaign. It's all statements, because Biden himself, he needs a script, like we showed you yesterday's show. When he asked Kamala to be his vice president, he literally reading for a script in front of his computer. That's how excited he was. But a lot of these people, if peace actually happens in the Middle East, think of the people that'll be in the unemployment line. Now, there'll be more people working, like in Israel and the United Arab Emirates, but a lot of people, terrorists, are going to be out of business. Some of these leaders that shout, death to America and obliterate Israel, push them to the sea, they're going to have something else to do. It kind of reminds me, and before I say this, I'm not saying this guy's a terrorist, but there is a similarity in the sense that people like Al Sharpton, do you really think that Al Sharptons of the world actually want racial harmony in the United States of America? Because where would Al Sharpton be if we didn't have racial strife, or at least some aspect of it, at least something pushed by TV? Because if there's racial strife, the first one you see there is, man, he's like a superhero. He's like the Flash. Boom, I'm here to save the world and tell us who is at fault. Of course, Jesse Jackson has found out, we talked about this a couple of days ago, where in Chicago, the Black Lives Matter people called him out specifically and said, hey, times have changed. We got a right to loot, those kind of things. So people like Al Sharpton, if you have racial harmony in this country, or at least it was reported fairly, people like Al Sharpton will be out of business. So then these terrorists over there, they're going to be out of business as well. President Trump said, now that the ice has been broken, I expect more Arab and Muslim countries will follow the United Arab Emirates. Think about that, man. That will be big. It is big. This thing is big. It deserves wall-to-wall coverage. Dare I say it should eclipse Kamala Harris? I know that's not possible because, man, what about the coverage of Kamala Harris? Side note here. I mean, oh, my Lord, man, you would think that she's beyond the female Obama. She's like the second coming, man, or something. It's like they're just gushing over her like it's unbelievable. We're going to have a story in a few minutes that might change a few hearts and minds about how great Kamala is. The recognition grants a rare diplomatic win. Now, this is the reporter's words here, not mine, because this kind of pisses me off. The recognition grants a rare diplomatic win to Trump ahead of the November election, as his efforts to see the end of the war in Afghanistan have yet to come to fruition, while efforts to bring peace between Israel and the Palestinians have made no headway. This exception, right? Israel and the UAE also have been among Trump's closest foreign allies. So I like the term rare diplomatic win. Now let me gather my thoughts on this, because this upsets me just a little bit. My psychic sidekick here, Billy Bob Bass. If you hadn't met Billy Bob Bass, he keeps me straight. He's telling me ahead of time, kind of whispering in my ear, you please remain calm. He has a Twitter handle, by the way. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. And I'm starting to post a show on Twitter as well, so give us a follow there and check it out. It's at John Martin Talks. But rare diplomatic win. How can I say this calmly? That's a lie. I'm just going to tell it flat out. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a bald-faced lie. Donald Trump we could do a week's worth of shows on the wins he's had in diplomacy, foreign affairs, and that kind of thing. Let me just name a couple. How about he replaced NAFTA? Think about that. He got a new agreement, said it could not be done. He replaced NAFTA and got Mexico and Canada to agree to a whole new deal that benefits America more than ever, creates jobs for Americans. Not like we need them, right? I mean, so NAFTA right there. He revamped NATO, for God's sakes. They said, oh, he's going to be the death of NATO. Turns out he's the savior of NATO. NATO is stronger now than it's been since early when it was first formed after World War II. Donald Trump did the unthinkable. He got people to actually fulfill their agreements. You know, promises made, promises kept. He's holding people accountable. Europe is actually beginning to pave their own way. So, you know, you may think that's a bad thing, but to me, if you agree to something and you live up to your agreement, that's pretty good. So I think he's actually, and back to like, you know, NAFTA and Mexico. Remember about paying for the wall and all that? Mexico paid. Oh, in no way. Mexico has troops on both their southern and northern, the U.S. border in the north, now stationed to help protect the border. And they're paying for those troops. Who would have ever thought that was possible? Donald Trump got it done. And he also, and doesn't get near the credit he deserves for this next thing, he got Mexico to agree to keep asylum seekers in Mexico until their hearings are in the United States. That is big, man. I'm telling you. New trade agreements with multiple countries, including countries like Japan, not to mention that he's working on one with England, the UK, when they get through with their Brexit deal. And think about this. Without Donald Trump, and I know some of my English brethren may take exception to this, and I don't mean it the way it sounds, because I haven't talked about you guys and our brothers in Brexit for a while, but Donald Trump helped Brexit actually happen. I don't think there's any question about that. But how about North Korea? They always want to poo-poo North Korea, but North Korea is not near the threat, at least it doesn't appear to be, that they were when Donald Trump came. We were on the verge of potential war when Donald Trump became president. Is it perfect? No. A heck of a lot better. And then China tariffs. He gets no credit under this because of the pandemic. You know, things happened in China. He's working on that as well. And how about the bromance we now have with India? India was kind of fading from us there for a while, the world's largest democracy. But now Donald Trump is probably closer to the Prime Minister of India than at any time in American history. I mean, you can make a case for that. And I know this may or may not sound like a diplomatic issue, this next one, but how about our foreign affairs? But it ties right into everything from terrorism to peace in our time to peace in the Middle East. How about energy independence? Donald Trump, for the first time really in my lifetime, we are energy independent. Is it threatened by this pandemic? Absolutely. But that's just a few of the things that Donald Trump. So the idea that Donald Trump hasn't had significant foreign affairs achievement, diplomatic achievement, is at best ludicrous and really is an outright intentional lie, in my opinion. For the UAE, home to skyscraper-studded Dubai, I heard it's a fantastic place to go. I'd like to check it out. And the rolling oil-rich sand dunes of Abu Dhabi, that's where I've heard is incredible. It further burnishes its international campaign to be seen as a beacon of tolerance in the Middle East. That sounds like a good thing to me. Despite being governed by autocratic rulers, it also puts the UAE out first in a regional recognition race among neighboring Gulf Arab states. Is that a bad thing? Because if the way you read this article, it almost sounds like that having the UAE as being peaceful, one of the richest nations on earth, is a bad thing. I actually think it's a good thing. And for the Palestinians who long have relied on Arab backing in their struggle for independence, the announcement marked both a win and a setback. It can't be a win for everybody. It's a setback to me only in the sense that peace in the Middle East is going to put some of these terrorists out of business. While the deal halts Israel annexation plans, the Palestinians have repeatedly urged Arab governments not to normalize relations with Israel until a peace agreement establishing an independent Palestinian state is reached. Now, I want to give you my opinion. It's an opinionated fact nonetheless. I just don't believe anything that a multi-state is possible. I don't believe that it's going to be possible to have a Palestinian separate state. I don't think it'd be good for Palestinians, to be honest with you. I just don't. I think the one-state solution is the only thing that's ultimately going to work. Are they going to get there? I don't know, but they could. And Arabs and Palestinians especially need to understand this. There's only one place, because even UAE, as great as it is ruled by a dynasty, right? Autocrats, basically. There's only one place in the entire Middle East where citizens, Arab citizens, Muslim citizens, people who practice the Islamic faith, actually have the right to vote for their representatives to parliament in this case. You know where that is? Israel. Israel is the only place in the Middle East where a Muslim, an Arabic, whoever, whether they're religious or not, can actually be a full-fledged citizen. There are quite a few that do it. They get no publicity whatsoever because they don't fit the narrative. But I actually believe that a one-state solution where people lay down their arms, realize that Israel, the state of Israel, is the best place in the Middle East to be, just like the United States of America is. That's the only solution I believe. And Palestinians, you might as well, I know there are going to be probably some people riot. They'll use any extent to riot like they do over here. But you might as well just go home, because you're not going to get a separate state through violence. That's for sure. And it's just kind of like the protests here, mostly peaceful protests. I've been saying this for a while. Black Lives Matter. The organization is a communist Marxist organization. But if you're out there trying to peacefully protest, you might as well go home, because your peaceful protest is over. Love it, hate it, whatever. It's been hijacked by radicals from Antifa to Black Lives Matter, who literally have the audacity to stand in front of a police precinct in Chicago and say they have the absolute right to loot and pillage. That's what's happened. So you might as well go home. It's over. The militant group Hamas, which controls the Gaza Strip, called the deal by the Emiratis a stabbing in the back of our people. So terrorists, because, make no mistake, Hamas is a terrorist organization, period. There's no other debate. You cannot really debate me on that issue. Oh, by the way, did you see we basically reelected a terrorist to the United States Congress? Ilhan Omar won her primary, which means she's going to win her. She's in the same district where George Floyd was tragically killed. She's going to win that now that she's won the Democratic primary. So we've elected a terrorist. We've not only elected, now reelected. You might say, well, how can you say that? Because if you support terrorism, if terrorists support you, if you raise money for terrorists and terrorists give you money, I'm just going to call it like it is. You're a terrorist. All of that is true of Ilhan Omar. You don't have to take my word for it. You could, but check it out yourself. So terrorists hate this agreement. Hamas hates this agreement already. Well, that's good, right? If a terrorist doesn't like it, probably a good thing. The joint statement from the U.S. and the UAE and Israel said delegations would meet in the coming weeks to sign deals on direct flights between the two countries, security, imagine that, security between those two countries, telecommunications, energy, tourism, and healthcare. And listen to this, boy, this has got to chap the behinds of people like Nancy Pelosi. This last statement. The two countries will partner in fighting the coronavirus pandemic, COVID-19. So they're going to partner up, the Arab nation and the Israel nation going to partner up to try to help stem the tide of the COVID-19 virus. Wow. And all of this is the result of Donald Trump and his persistent action on this. So this idea that Donald Trump is not doing anything to stem the tide of COVID in this country has been BS from the beginning. Not only is he doing a great job here, but the guy is leader in this in the world, in the entire world. He's trying to bring Mideast peace and fight coronavirus at the same time in this part of the world. I mean, wow. Promises made, promises kept. He's a fighter in this, man. And speaking of fighters, let me just remind you this. I know not everybody can be a fighter like me and Billy Bob. Not everybody can be a fighter like Donald Trump, like JMT, but you can support fighters. I really need your help. Not only liking and sharing us as far and wide as possible. I appreciate that. More views on YouTube, become a subscriber, but check out our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited. They basically got everything in the Second Amendment covered from A to Z, from guns, ammunition, right down to our prize pack. Don't forget that. Some lucky listeners are going to get this. Compliments of Big Daddy Unlimited. Go to the description of our show. You'll see 2 links there that I really need you to check. One is for you only. Give this away. We're giving this away. Fill out the John Martin giveaway. Go to that link and check it out. And then if you want to really help this old fighter stay in the game, go to our sponsorship link, Big Daddy Unlimited. Click on that. 99 cents, basically a free trial for the first month. Then it's $10 a month. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I get a portion of that money. But let me tell you, if you have any interest in guns, ammunition, or tactical gear, you will save more money on your first purchase than your membership will ever be. Check it out. I really need your help. Opening direct ties between 2 of the Middle East's most dynamic societies and advanced economics will transform the region by spurring economic growth. Sounds good to me. Enhancing technology, innovation, and forging closer people-to-people relations, said a statement by Trump, Netanyahu, and Abu Dhabi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. That's a lot right there. So the 3 leaders, Trump, Netanyahu, and however you say his name in the Arab Emirates, and I'm not trying to be funny, that's just a lot for an old country boy to say, they have come together and said this is a good thing for the region. So it must be. The art of the deal, man, it is Donald Trump. Among Arab nations, only Egypt and Jordan. This shows you how significant this is. Among Arab nations currently, only Egypt and Jordan have active diplomatic ties with Israel. Only 2 before this. Egypt made its peace deal with Israel in 1979, followed by Jordan in 1994. So it's been decades since this has been done, and Donald Trump did it, man. And oh, by the way, when they talk about, this is, he hadn't had much diplomatic success, that is not only a lie, but there's stuff coming over the wire literally as we speak. How about Taiwan? Taiwan is forwarding relations with the Trump administration like never before. I fully believe that when we do our part and campaign for Donald Trump like he's 2 votes behind the next 2, put him over the top. I've been telling you that. When Donald Trump wins re-election in 2020, I firmly believe that he will open up diplomatic relations directly and recognize Taiwan, much to the chagrin of China. It's long overdue, but I believe if anyone can do it, it will be Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, man, I told you this story before. Donald Trump is seen by many people, contrary to what CNN and all those bogus BS fake news saying, Donald Trump is actually seen, go look at what's happening in India. Donald Trump is seen as a savior of religious freedom all over the world. I've personally met ministers from all over the world that have told me that Donald Trump is the man when it comes to that. And of course, we've played this before. We're going to play it again and close out this portion of the show. In Hong Kong, when they call out for freedom, when they begging for freedom, they call 2 things, the United States of America and DJT. Check it out.
Resist Beijing! Liberate Hong Kong! Resist Beijing! Liberate Hong Kong! Resist Beijing! Liberate Hong Kong!
希望美國嗰邊可以係聽日盡快通過呢個人權民主法案，令到香港可以真正有本身2008、2007有嘅普選，係中英聯合聲明承諾俾香港人。
That's good enough. It does your heart good. Make no mistake about it. Donald Trump is the leader of the free world. Obama didn't see himself as that. He thought of himself as a voice in a chorus. But now we have a true commander-in-chief, a true leader of the free world that is not seeking personal fame and fortune, like Biden would be and has been with China, but somebody that freedom-loving people who actually are oppressed, not people in this country, because there's not many people really truly oppressed, going to concentration camps and stuff like in Hong Kong. People who are truly oppressed in the world look to Donald J. Trump to be their savior, and we need to reelect the guy because he is bringing peace in our times. He's winning when it comes to this story of Israel and UAE when others are whining. Donald Trump talks a lot, but he backs it up with action, baby. All right, we're going to talk about Miss Kamala Harris. We're going to switch to a Breitbart article that kind of this story broke yesterday in Breitbart, and I got to give them some credit because nobody is doing a better job really of cutting to some of these hardcore issues than them. Of course, America's Voice News that I'm affiliated with, they do a fantastic job as well. If you have not tuned into them, there's multiple ways you can do it. First of all, good morning. We're on their Facebook page every morning, live at 8 o'clock. Howdy, how are you? But we're rebroadcast along their network. You can download a free app on your Android, your iPhone. You can go to any basically streaming service like Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV. They're on Dish Network Channel 219 and Pluto streaming channel as well. So if you want hardcore, hard-hitting news that you won't get on the mainstream media, that's for sure, you need to tune in to things like America's Voice News. Catch our show live on Facebook, and we're a late-night show across their streaming network. Check out the times for you. But all right, let's get back to this story. Peter Schweitzer, you may or may not remember him. He wrote that book, Clinton Cash, and a few others. He's got a new book out, and he's got a chapter or two dedicated to Kamala Harris. Pretty interesting stuff. Sad stuff, too. Peter Schweitzer, Kamala Harris refused to prosecute priest sexual abuse after church's lawyers funded her campaign. So when she was the San Francisco state attorney, she would not prosecute sexual child abuse, basically. And we'll get into the details of this. It's pretty shocking. Peter Schweitzer, author of Profiles in Corruption, Abuse of Power by America's Progressive Elite and president of the Government Accountability Institute, that's a long thing, discussed with host Alex Marlow of Sirius, I like Alex, on Breitbart. If you have never listened to his show, it's pretty good. News Thursday, you can always listen to it before and after our show because I guess we compete to a certain extent just for, clarification. Newsday Thursday, Senator Kamala Harris, while San Francisco's district attorney refused to prosecute cases of priest sexual abuse. Those of us, I'll say this, those of us who are actually, if we want to call us alt-right, that are alternate to the mainstream media, we got to kind of plug each other along the way. So, Alex, give me a plug someday. I'll come substitute on your show someday. But hey, let me just tell you, I said this yesterday, but if I say it, it bears repeating. My new nickname for Kamala Harris, and you Game of Thrones folks will get a kick out of this, she's Littlefinger, man. She is absolutely Littlefinger because she is climbing the chaos ladder, man. The ladder, the climb is all there is. If you want, I've always said this about different individuals. In order to understand an individual, whether it's in your personal life or a political leader, you got to get to something core about them, and then everything makes sense. For Kamala Harris, that core, I firmly believe, is that her record shows she will do anything, and I repeat, anything, fill in the blank, for power. She'll even accept the nomination from Joe Biden, a guy that she despises, right? And he should, but he can't remember why he don't like her if he don't like her at all. But Schweitzer stated the numbers are pretty stunning, talking about when Kamala Harris was the district attorney in San Francisco. From 2004 to 2011, Kamala Harris was the San Francisco district attorney responsible for all prosecutions and the prosecution team in San Francisco area. Between 2004 and 2011, she did not prosecute a single case of priest sexual abuse, period. Of the top 50 cities in America, just to put this in perspective, of the top 50 cities during the same time frame, she's the only one that didn't prosecute one. And it's not that there were no cases in San Francisco. Believe me, a case in San Francisco, I mean, I don't know if you've seen this picture, and I probably shouldn't pick on these people, but the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, no affiliation to the Catholic Church. But if you don't think that there's possible sex abuse in San Francisco, then, maybe you better pull your head out of something. Schweitzer continued, To put that into context of how stunning that, there they are, context of how stunning that is, if you look at the top 50, I just told you that but there were cases, ladies and gentlemen, and you wonder, well, why did she drop them? Because she dropped them or hid them, pushed them under the rug. I wonder why. Well, the reason is one of the oldest stories in the world. Guess why? Ting-a-ling-a-ling. Money, man. Money. She did it for money. After being elected, or didn't do it for money, didn't prosecute. After being elected as San Francisco's DA, Harris terminated her predecessor's plans to publicly release the clergy abuse files, naming names of priests accused of sexual abuse. Terrence Hanlon, he's the former DA of San Francisco. He was the incumbent, and she beat him, which is no small thing to do, right? Of course, Willie Brown might have been helping her out a little bit, giving her a little pushing her somewhere. The former DA of San Francisco had slated the files for public release against the wishes of the Archdiocese of San Francisco. Before I go any further, because I haven't talked about the Catholic Church in a while and sexual abuse and all that, I want to make a little statement here so you understand. I am not opposed to the Catholic Church by any stretch. In fact, it breaks my heart to all this sexual abuse stuff, not only obviously for the victims, but the damage it does to the church itself. Because I'm a strong, if you've watched this show any length of time, you will know this. If not, where you been? Glad to have you in the right place now. I am an adamant, ardent defender of the Constitution. And our inalienable rights in the Constitution means God-given. It's critical that churches play a major role in our life. We're not, we're free to practice religion. We're free from religion, but religion is at the center of this nation's founding. Make no mistake about it. And if a country no longer believes in God, then they might not believe in inalienable rights, and then that means somebody like Joe Biden or Kamala Harris come take them away from you. So I am big time support of churches, but I'm going to call it as I see it. They're not immune to accountability. Schweitzer said, and according to Hanlon, that's the former DA, account, there were at least the names of 40 current and former priests who had been accused of molestations by people in that archdiocese. Of course, she snuffed it. She pushed it under the rug. What did Biden say about her? About one of the reasons he picked Kamala? She fights for the little guy. Little children? Maybe not. Schweitzer noted victims' rights groups criticized Harris's suppression of the documents detailing allegations of sexual abuse against priests. The victims' rights groups, according to Mr. Schweitzer, the victims' rights groups snapped. Some of the other groups went absolutely ballistic, and you can understand why. Kamala Harris claimed that she sealed those records to protect victims. Yeah, right. Who were suing, in some cases, the church. That kind of starts getting where we're going. The victims call that outrage and wrong. They used language that I couldn't use on the radio, said Mr. Schweitzer. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let me take my time now for the rest of the story. Harris received political campaign donations from lawyers and law firms representing the Archdiocese of San Francisco. So she got money from the Catholic Church, their lawyers, and priests that were being accused. She got a flood of campaign cash. Kind of coincidence that she squashed it, right? Schweitzer assessed many of the law firms and lawyers who were representing the Archdiocese on a variety of legal matters, and this is very, very important, including priests that had been identified as possible culprits, gave large contributions to Harris' political campaign. This next statement, if you know anything about politics, is huge. Some of them had never given contributions to a race like this before, but they loaded up her campaign offers. It's, when you run for office, you go to people, one of the first things you need to do, and this is just a tip for you, go get a list of people who have donated to campaigns, and you need to hit those people first, because if they donated before, they're willing to do it. It's very hard to get somebody other than maybe a family member to donate when they haven't donated in the past. So the idea that people donated that had just happened to be accused of sexual harassment to her campaign and they hadn't donated in the past is a big red flag. Remember, the climb is all there is. Remember this about Kamala Harris. First gained national attention in the Kavanaugh case. These are my words. Where she basically put out the presumption that you're guilty and you have to prove you're innocent. Totally unconstitutional for a lawyer especially, right? Women are to be believed, right? She said that basically women are to be believed in the Kavanaugh case. What a Blasey Ford, absolutely believe her. She doubled down, and this is critical on this. She doubled down on that belief when she was running against Joe Biden, because she came out, and I quote her here, talking about the sexual abuse accusers of Joe Biden. She said, I believe them. This wasn't like ancient history. This was during the 2020 race. I believe them and I respect them. These are her words, being able to tell their story and having the courage to do it. First, here's the first question that should come out to Kamala. Do you still believe Joe Biden's accusers? If not, why? But if you still believe Joe Biden's accusers and that women should be believed, how can you be the running mate of a sex abuser? If you believe them, then you believe that Joe Biden is guilty of sexual abuse and in some cases outright sexual assault. But you can stand up there and back him, so to speak. That's because the latter is everything, man. I'm telling you, to understand Kamala Harris, go back and watch Game of Thrones, Littlefinger. That's who she is. And this is your candidate. Women who are supposed to be falling away from Donald Trump, black women who are all behind Kamala Harris, women in general, are people, Americans who care about children, sexual abuse, and everything else. This is your candidate. Because one thing about Kamala Harris, and let me just make this clear, she is not like pro-Catholic, by the way. Because if you remember, in her hearings and her role as a Senate Judiciary hearing, she actually questioned some judges who came before them because they were practitioners of the Catholic faith, and even kind of openly speculated whether or not that would disqualify them from being federal judges. So she is not pro-Catholic by any stretch. She's pro-Kamala, and she don't mind taking money from anybody. It don't matter. All right, we only got a couple minutes left. We want to get into this last story. We're going to end the week and start the weekend with some excellent news here. From Politico, which I know they didn't like printing this. New unemployment claims fall below 1 million for the first time in 5 months. New unemployment claims fell last week to 963,000, the Labor Department reported Thursday. The first time in months the figure had been less than 1 million. Not in months, 5 months to be exact. Let me just ask you this. I've said this, but I hadn't said it in a while. Where would we be in this pandemic if it weren't we started with the Trump economy? If we'd have been in the same position when Obama left office and we started, man, we'd probably be done for now. Our economy was like floating, bumping along till Trump came in there and it went skyrocket, right? So we were better prepared. You talk about being prepared for the pandemic. The fact that Donald Trump had the economy rocking and rolling when this thing hit actually prepared us to survive it in multiple ways. There's no doubt about that. Where would we be without it? You know, and where would we be if we don't reelect him? Donald Trump made America great again economically and other ways. He can make it great again. Because remember, Obama said that there's no way you're going to bring back the jobs. You'd have to have a magic wand. Isn't that what he said for Donald Trump to bring back the jobs? Well, Donald Trump found a wand that Obama never had. You know what it's called? A backbone, an actual spine, and actually be able to say something about it. Well, we're pretty much out of time. I want to close the show with this again. I want to remind you of the giveaway. 2 things I want to remind. The giveaway. Go to the description of the show, John Martin giveaway link up there. You'd really want to register for this. There's no obligation whatsoever. Just register. One lucky listener. Invite your friends, by the way, to do it, even if they hadn't heard the show. It'd be a good way to get them in. One lucky listener is going to win all of this. I thank Big Daddy Unlimited not only for the studio time that I have today, but this great prize pack. I've said this before, but if I say it bears repeating, not everybody can be a fighter. But you can always support those in the fight. Love me, hate me, whatever. I think even my enemies would agree. This dude here is a fighter. Boom, boom. I'm out there. I'm a puncher like Donald Trump, man. I'm going to keep fighting. JMT, DJT, we're fighters. Support us by supporting our sponsors. Go to the Big Daddy Unlimited link in the description of our show. Remember the giveaway link there. They're both in the description. And check it out for 99 cents. Pretty much a free trial, 99 cents is all it costs you. Look in, see if it's for you. If you have any interest at all, even if it's buying a gift from somebody in the Second Amendment issues, You will save more money than you possibly could believe, because Big Daddy Unlimited gives you factory direct prices. That's what this is all about, and it helps out our show at the same time. Well, I hope you have a terrific weekend. I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. I'm going fishing. I'll show you some pictures on Monday. You have yourself a great weekend. I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. Let's all pray for this great nation. But above all else, like I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day.